Welcome to LoTech Tuesdays by LoTech and Wild, the podcast for people who live their lives unplugged and for those who want to.
Hi, Dawn. How are you?
Hi, Michelle. I'm good. I just got home from work, so trying to figure out this technology. That's all.
Thanks so much for joining me today
You
and
bet.
sit down for a chat for a little while. I'm looking forward to, learning about you, and you're going to be instructing at the Valdez Ice Climbing Festival in 2022. So I look forward to meeting you. And man, I really loved Mixtress. I thought that was just fantastic. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Let's see. Where do you want to start? I mean, I'm 46 years old. There's a lot going on there. So.
Well, how'd you start? Are you on city council?
No. So I live here in Ouray, Colorado. I'm a full-time resident here. I live here with my husband, Patrick Ormond, and our dog, Callie, and we live here. We both work for San Juan Mountain Guides and full-time. And I also work as a ranger at the Via Ferrata here in Ouray. So I kind of do two things. I split my time here, so all winter I teach ice climbing. I'm in the ice park teaching mixed climbing and ice climbing. I'm in the backcountry. And then in the summer, I have a little bit easier job, and I'm at the Via Ferrata rangering. So I'm just the safety person at the top of the route. So,
Gotcha.
So my guiding background and my wonderful people skills, I'm sure that you'll find they all come in handy. And I have a lot of useless knowledge of the area, so it makes me a good ranger. So, yes.
Well, isn't that what Yvonne Schuenaar coined, was that climbers are conquistadors of the useless?
Oh my God, I'm so full of useless knowledge. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm full of it. Doesn't matter where you are. I've been working in this capacity as a guide all through college. So I found climbing when I was in Ohio at Kent State, and then I moved to the Black Hills of South Dakota, and that's where I learned how to rock climb and ice climb and do everything. So I graduated from college in 1998, and I started guiding right away. So just really basic stuff. Like, it started with somebody needed me to help at a rock wall at Mountain Mania. Shouts out to those old folks. That shop is no longer here, but I worked there at their climbing wall, and I, belayed like everybody does when they get started. I just belayed, check knots and things like that. And then I got a job at Sylvan Rocks and started rock climbing guiding. And then I started working at an Air Force base there in the Black Hills. And I worked there for a few years as a civilian. It was awesome. And I taught I was in charge of the outdoor rec program, and I did all kinds of things with the guys there and the staff, and anybody who was related to the military could take the programs. We went rock climbing, ice climbing, mountain biking, hiking, you name it, we did it, and it was really fun. So I did that for a while, and then in 2004 I became a full-time guide with the American Alpine Institute, and it all just started from there. So here I am today, a guide now in Ouray. I moved here in 2005, and I've been here seasonally. I was here seasonally just for the winter for 6 years. And then 2011, Pat and I got married, and we were able to make this our year-round residence. And we definitely traveled a ton for a while, and now I'm just mostly here, and I love it. So I really don't travel very much. I was joking that I really do think that this Valdez Ice Fest might be my retirement festival. So, coming to festivals. Yeah. So I've been at this for a long time, and it might just be time just to, let somebody else take my spot, so.
Great.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Okay.
Does your husband?
But I love it. I still love it. Yeah. What was the question?
Yes. Does your husband climb and do all of those things as well?
Yes. Patrick is a very talented climber and mountain person. He grew up doing all this stuff, so he is very, very talented. Rock climbing, skiing, ice climbing, all these things. So, yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, we're a good match together that way. So
that's great.
I did not grow up doing this. I grew up going to the mall, so I did definitely not grow up doing this stuff. I started, getting into stuff in college. So, and that was like slow going at first because Grateful Dead shows were really awesome.
Oh my goodness.
when the dead stopped, it was like, well, I guess I'll go
What do you
climbing.
do?
And so that's, yeah. So here you have
That's
it.
hilarious. Yeah, I used to follow the Grateful Dead too, and
Nice.
I hitchhiked coast to coast for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'll be
So
another podcast that you can interview me about. So that'll be great. We can share stories. We can share stories of like, ooh, we almost got arrested, or I can't believe we didn't, I mean.
sure. Or the garbage bags in the trunk of the car full of what?
Yeah, you're like, what? How did I get in here? Get me out. Yeah,
So,
and of course, all the great music.
Yes. Yeah. So for me though, the that sort of like hippie culture was a natural transition to wanting to be at a crag and go climbing and hanging out in the woods. And what do you do in the woods? And then on top of it, you learn technical skills. And once you start learning technical skills and you get some gear, and then it's just like, you're down the rabbit hole at that point.
Yeah, it's up to you how far down that rabbit hole you go and how much knowledge you choose to gain along the way, and I'm a person who just loves to soak up all that kind of stuff. And so for me, it was like, I just wanted to learn as much as I possibly could so that I could go out on my own anywhere I wanted in the world. And that was what my base, like, I remember when I first started climbing, I said, I just want to be able to climb 510 anywhere I go. So I just thought, like, because that seemed to be the grade that was like everywhere, that was manageable.
And that was like the top almost, because I mean, I think that's why 510 came out with this 510 shoe.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, well, no, that's low level stuff now.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I hear you.
That's walking.
I'm with you. It used to be a big grade, kids. And so, that was just my concept when I first started climbing, and ice climbing was just a way to climb year round and just to climb in other places. And it was easier for me to ice climb. And I'm terrible at route finding. And so for me, ice climbing was a no-brainer. I could just get on a piece of ice and just follow the ice. And so oftentimes that did get me in trouble though, because I should have maybe got off the ice and got on the rock, but when I first was starting climbing, but I had leashes, I didn't know any better, so I do think that the hippie culture helped me to have that sense of community, and I knew what that felt like. And so it was nice to have that, and then have people around me who supported me. It was like, let's learn these things together, or it's great that you know those things. Let's go.
For sure.
That was fine too. I didn't care, you know. So
yeah.
How wonderful. I just wanted to be outside. I still am that way. I just love being outside. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
That there was a dichotomy though. I think that there were people that really cared about, things that would lead to conservation and things that would lead to having a whole bunch of useless knowledge. And then there were a lot of people that really, they were, in it just to be, just to escape, society too. And they really didn't care about, picking up trash or any sort of stewardship or, whatever. A lot of them too just were in it for the party aspect of it, I think that branching off and going in this direction, it's a different kind of party, and it's much more satisfying, I feel, sense of accomplishment, whatever it is,
Yes. Yeah. I was both those people combined. So I was in my, I was like my late teens, early 20s. So I was both those people combined. So, I always just thought it was important to pick, I'm also a neat freak. So maybe that's also why I always like pick up stuff and just, keep kind of, keep that sense of stewardship and, stay on the trail and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me a little bit about that journey. So from where it started and then how it progressed. I mean, did you go, when you were at Kent State, were you studying environmental sciences, for example?
Well, when I first went to college at Kent State, I wanted to be an exercise physiologist.
Okay.
I am fascinated by the body, and I'm fascinated by the way aging can be affected if you exercise. So I just always thought, I still think that's super fascinating. And so that's what I originally went to school for. And my dream was to, at first was to make aerobics tapes, because this was the 90s. And I
Jane
wanted to
Fonda.
make,
Watch out.
yeah, I wanted to be like the next Denise Austin kind of thing. And I was teaching aerobics classes, and I just thought like, that's what I would do in my early 20s. And I would graduate and be this exercise physiologist. And then that would never really happen because I found climbing. And then once I found climbing, I took a recreation class, like randomly. And also, by the way, as an exercise physiology major, you had to take all these random gym classes, so like racquetball, weightlifting, so,
Well-rounded.
yeah, just like round yourself out with all this random information about sports. And so I started climbing I was climbing, I took this recreation management class. We went to a ropes course as part of the class. And I was like, this is a camp where you people work and you do this? And they're like, yeah, we do this for a living. I was like, and you're adults and you do this? I can't believe this. And so I found outdoor education, and this was before Google. So I couldn't go home and like Google it. So I went home and I was like fascinated by it. And all I knew is I just wanted to keep climbing. I wanted to do something that was revolved around climbing. And all of a sudden, boom, like this pathway opened up. So I did one more year at Kent State, and then I wound up moving to Black Hills State University to go finish with a 4-year degree in outdoor education. And I found that school by doing a motorcycle trip with my dad, actually. I was 20, and I got in the back of his motorcycle, and for 13 days, we traveled from Ohio to Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, and home. And we looked at all these different schools, and Black Hills State was the only one that was listed in this book that I was looking at, because again, it's not like I could Google anything. So I opened up this book. There was the Black Hills State. We stopped there. It was an awesome place to me. It was a 4-year university, and I was like sold. So that's where I wound up moving in 1996. And that's kind of how it all started. Like everywhere I went then, I was still partying at Kent State. And I was partying a lot. And so I decided to go to Black Hills State, where it was going to be more mellow. I didn't know as many people. Like I just, Deadhead stopped playing because it was past Jerry's death. And so it was like, it was just going to be different. I thought it would be a way to like kind of restart. And once I found climbing out there, that was like nonstop. That's all I wanted to do. And I was so lucky because I met this guy named Mike Niebuhr, and he was like 18 or so at the time. He had just graduated, and he worked at the gear shop. I went in there. I was like, hey, we want to go rock climbing. He's like, awesome, I'll take you. And we went to the sport climbing crag, and I was like, I only had top rope at that point. And I was like, I don't know what you people are doing sport climbing, because you're only you're starting from the ground. That's weird. And I had all these, I had no idea what they were doing. And Mike totally showed me what was up, showed me how to clip bolts, how to put the quick draws on the anchor, how to clip the carabiners at the top, and then how to lower down, how to clean them. And then he's like, I got to go to work. I'll see you later. And that's how it started. Like if I wanted to put the rope up, I had to put the rope up, And so it was really kind of empowering, because 5'6" was still 5'6", whether I top roped it or I let it, And so that was just the mentality. And so that's how I started like meeting other people. And I was really young, and I was 21, and I just would climb anything. I was so bold. I did so many stupid things. And I kept meeting all these old time climbers around there. I'm going to call them old timers since they were older than me. And they totally like shepherded me through my process of like learning how to climb. In a way, I think this one friend, Mike Nona, I really too think that he didn't want to lead anything. And he'd be like, hey, why don't you do this like 5'7"? I mean, it's a little run out, but I mean, I did it. I've done it like hundreds of times. You should totally do it. And I'd be like, okay. No business being up there. I probably had a hole in my shoe, just like, just taking off. I probably had a bikini top on and like climbing low angle slabs, like I would have ripped my chest apart if I had fallen, So yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And then when ice climbing season came around, Mike Niebuhr also asked me if I wanted to go ice climbing. And I didn't know what he was asking, but I loved climbing so much. I was like, let's do this. And so I went with him and it was amazing. I got to the top my first time. Other girls were there, other people I knew, people that I had climbed with. And at that point in my life, I was very competitive. And so I was like, those girls climb, like I climb harder than them. I can ice climb. And I did. And it was awesome. And so I just was hooked right away. And so no matter what I did, every decision I made was wrapped around climbing, whether I was going to go climbing, skip work and go climbing, I never skipped class, but I always skipped work. And so, because it was important to me to be a straight A student too, because I'm kind of a person like that. So I didn't care about missing work, but I did care about missing class. So
Sure.
So that's how college went. And then after that, I graduated college, and it was just like every turn I made, I just made sure I could keep climbing. And I just, as a person who wanted to excel and do well, I just kept working my way through the grades, and I had awesome people around me to help me with that. So that's kind of how it led to guiding. And then I don't know what happened since 2004. It's I became an athlete. I traveled all over, and all of a sudden I have a house. I'm in Ouray, and it's like,
well, were you there? When did the Ouray Ice Festival start? Were you there when
Oh, luckily I'm not that old, but I have been ice climbing that long. So the park started in 95, and then the festival in 96. So it's like one or the other. Either I'm like the same. It's like I'm right at that age. Don't quote. If somebody's going to correct me, somebody's going to write in and comment and correct me. I'm sure I'm wrong, but again, you don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. So just let it roll. Let it roll.
I've looked it up before, but I forgot. Yeah,
just roll. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yes.
No, I didn't know I knew Ouray existed, but I only had seen it in magazines. Like I was not a person, I'm still not a person who's going to Google something or like dive into my computer and look for stuff. Like I just stay, like if I could avoid the screens at all times, I would. Like, that's why I think this call was so hard to set up. Like I had to get my computer out.
Where what? No.
And it was so funny. Like, it's just it's so old, and you know what I mean? It's like just a sign of like how much I actually use this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, like I said, that's why we're calling it LoTech and Wild, and that's you.
I just can't be inside, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I moved to Ouray because I had got a job. A job opened up here at the American Alpine Institute. And so I had been ice climbing for 10 years. I had been living in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I climbed all the ice there in the hills like a number of times. And then I would go to Cody, Wyoming and ice climb. So I've known Mr. Aaron Mulkey for a super long time. And it's been cool to see, just how much he's made that area just so awesome with all the discoveries he's made. So it's been really cool to see over all these years how places like that have changed, like Cody, because I've seen that place since the beginning. But Ouray, I've only been here since 2005, and I only moved here because a job opened up, and I moved here sight unseen. I was just like, I know there's ice there. I know there's a job there. I'm going. And so I did, just like that. I moved here with me and my dog on December 1st of 2005. So I never wanted to leave. Once I was here, I was like, I'm never leaving. So.
Now you said, you mentioned something earlier that kind of caught my ear. And so I'm wondering your opinions. And I have a follow-up question also about this. Do you think that women are more competitive to women?
That's a great question. I really think it's where you're from. And this is why I say this. We as women are taught, and it's just what we're taught because of what happens, because of the scarcity of success in certain fields. I believe that women have to always feel they have to be on top. So if I'm like, for example, if I'm on top, I have to guard that space, right? And I'm going to guard it in a variety of ways. I may guard it by buddying up with the dudes. I may do that by talking down anytime you're around. Like I'm guarding. I have a sense of guarding, right? Mm-hmm. That's just what we're taught as women. And I think that's true in every field. I don't think it's specific to climbing. I think it's anything where men traditionally were the ones in charge or on top. You know what I mean? And so if there's more of us, what winds up happening is eventually you can't alienate every single woman around you. That is not healthy, you know? So at some point you have to crack and say, look, there is room for more than me on top, right? Like I can support you and I can still be on top. Like I can watch you excel and I can still be on top. And that is not a concept that happens unless there is a bunch of women around you, right? And so it at first it's that sense of like, and you hear it like from other, whether it's not just women, it's other whatever you feel as a minority, you know, it's like as this sense of guarding. And then all of a sudden when you open that floodgate, it's amazing what happens with support. Instead, you know, you're never going to be the best. There's always going to be somebody better than you, you know? And so you can't hold it as like a sense of your worth, especially when it comes to climbing. Good Lord, you know? And so I definitely saw that in like when I was traveling a bunch for Mountain Hardware and other things and other athlete things and for Mixtress, I went to a lot of different areas, and some places that were very big, you could feel that like everybody's equal, everybody's supported, everybody's cool. Like, you know, it was just different. But when I went to a small area, you could feel that sense of scarcity, and you could feel that like the girls only climb with their boyfriends, for example, right? Like there was plenty of opportunities, open rope, open women, all sitting around, and they never climbed together. And I don't know what that came from. And so one of the reasons I say this all the time about the San Juans, and the reason I love it here, and the reason one of the reasons that made me like, I am never leaving. There are a bazillion beautiful, strong, talented, independent, brave women here. And so if you came here and tried to alienate yourself, good. You're going to have no friends, you know? And then what do you got left? You know, nothing. And so what these women really have taught me around here is that sense of like, I need to stand tall and stand firm. And I'm only doing that because you're helping me stand tall and firm. And so I now have to do that to the next person. And it has to continue. It has to be a pyramid like that, because the only way we're going to move forward is with that mentality. We can't, you know, you can't just be like, or even just down talking. I mean, we all do this in our own ways. We all guard in our own ways. And I just think that, you know, we don't have to. We definitely don't have to, you know.
Sure,
you'll find it's amazing when you support.
It's so quite destructive. But there's something too. There's a lot of people that talk smack to each other, and guys do that to each other too. And it's I was in Colorado visiting a friend the other day, and his roommate's girlfriend came over, and his comment to me was, well, you know, I better stand back. I feel like there's this war that's going to break out or something like that, because we were just talking smack to each other. And then I felt like by the end of like our Scrabble game, she was like, I admired her. Like we were the best of friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just like this weird, like healthy competition that made us both totally excel, you know? And so that was kind of my what makes another woman worthy? Like if you are having like this sort of, if you are competitive and you are, you know, but you kind of answered the question really by talking about how, you know, you learn to hold other women up, and that other women have been holding you up as well. And that they are strong, and you're recognizing and acknowledging, you know, other, the women that you have surrounded yourself with.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no way I would ever, I'm competitive with myself. That's the problem I have. I will always curse my father for that, for the way he taught me how to, I mean, he really gave me so much discipline and so much way of like looking at myself and like, you know, in good and bad, right? With climbing, I can totally destroy myself, be like, oh, why did I do it this way? I got to do it better this next time. And that comes from him. But So when it comes to being competitive, I'm competitive with myself, but that's it, yeah, that's the last person I need to be competitive with is anybody else. Like, I don't need, no way. And so I've learned my lesson over life, like that's not a very healthy way to be. And so just, I don't know. I think it's really hard. I think everybody has their own things that motivate them. And I think sometimes that climbing can be good and bad. I think sometimes people can obsess about it and use it as an escape, like we were talking about earlier with like the hippie culture and the dead. I definitely used it as an escape for years, years.
Okay.
I lived in my car. I didn't,
Yeah.
ignored everybody. I just went climbing. All I cared about was being an athlete and climbing and making things, just doing my thing. And then I hit 40 and I was like, whoa, I've been ignoring everybody, for 10 solid years. And so it was a big realization that like, wow, I do need to call you back. I do need to go to your birthday party. I do need to like do those things, because that's what it means. And so I've really tried really hard over the last 6 years to like really be present and be there for people. And, I think that just trying to do that is an easy way to connect. And then I don't have to, there's no competition there. So it's like everybody's worthy. We all have our own shit. Like there's nobody that's like not. That would be crazy for me to judge that somebody's not worthy. Like the only difference sometimes between me and a homeless person is just luck, So it's like, I mean, it's just certain circumstances went in my favor, So, I don't ever think anybody's not worthy.
You have an unusual path, like a little bit, because you really dove in 100%. I mean, you gave after college, you gave 100% to this. You were living out of your car, you were doing everything that you could do to be close to the climbing area. Is that something that you would, is this a path? Is this something that we recommend to the future climbers that are out there, to the ones that are up and coming? Is this what they're doing? Maybe they're already doing it. Maybe it's supported.
Yes, but I mean, do you aspire to live out of your car or do you aspire for more? That's what I say to people. I always aspired for more. And just living out of my car was the way in which I could get more. And that's all that it was. It wasn't because it was like I could hold the money for gas and food and dog food, or, I could get an apartment and be broke. And, it's like, well, I just wanted to keep guiding. It wasn't a great decision when I left my Air Force job. I was making $40,000 a year. At that point, that was a lot of money. It was like 2001. I was making $40,000 a year. I had no bills except student loan. And, I left that job with benefits, retirement, and I went to go guide for $80 a day for 6 weeks. There was no more guarantee after that. And so that's when it really became a lot of piecing it together. So, a lot of it sounds really glamorous. And so when like people hear things like this, they're like, it's so glam. It's not sometimes, I never allowed myself to dumpster dive. That was one thing I just would never allow myself to do. I just thought like, I'll figure it out, man. I'm not going to go eat food out of a dumpster. And so but there was people around me who they're fine with living in their car and eating out of dumpsters. Like that was just, I had to draw the line, And so I just say to all these aspiring climbers, like aspire to more. Like this climbing is like, yeah, sure. Take advantage of the fact you're 20 or like in your 30s and you have no commitments. But like at some point you're going to need a house. You're going to need a way to pay your bills. You're going to want to retire one day.
So do what you're doing, but keep that in the back of your mind.
Have a freaking plan. Like develop a plan. Like as I was a professional climbing athlete from 2007, and I still have one sponsorship left with Black Diamond. And the maximum amount of money I made in a year was $6,000. So live on that. Yeah. There you go. We're not all Alex Honnold. He's going to make a lot of money. You as a entry athlete, you're going to get a harness and you're going to get some shoes. That's what you get. You're not paying your bills with that. So aspire, sure. But like you can climb 513 and still go have a job. Most people I know who climb 513 and who climb super hard, they usually have a really good job. And then they can afford to go wherever they want, drive whatever they want, and eat whatever they want when they're there. and they still
Right.
climb 513. Like, it's up to you, you know, you don't have to live in your car to climb that hard.
So it's kind of a misnomer to be a sponsored athlete, really, is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally.
So, and that there's really, it's like the 1% really that gets, you know, the giant endorsements.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm so lucky to have those experiences. Please don't think I'm ungrateful. I'm like,
what
so
was it
grateful
like
for those experiences.
what was
What's
the
it
first
like?
one like? Yeah, what was the first one like? Were you approached or did you apply for something?
I applied with Mountain Hardware, and I'm sure Chris Strasser will still laugh because I came in with this like shaky little hand and my paper resume, you know, because that's what we had. We didn't have emails. Not everybody didn't have emails. And I gave my resume and I was all shaky. And I was like, I'm a guide, and I just need help getting gear so I can work, you know, because gave him a little bit of my sob story. And he looked at my ice climbing resume and he was just like, he was kind of blown away, but then he was like, yeah, we'll call you later. We'll let you know. And so like the whole rest of the OR show, and I waited till the very last minute at the very last day to give him that, which is the worst time to give somebody something, you know? And he was awesome. And he took me in. And so Chris Strasser gave me my break at Mount Hardware. And then at the Ice Fest here in Uray, I did really well my first year competing, and I got second place. And so La Sportiva was like, oh my God, you don't even have boots. Like, let us give you boots, you know? So that's kind of how it all started. Like, people would see me here and be like, oh girl, let's get you some tools, you know? And so that's kind of how it was, you know? I mean, again, I was making like $90 a day at that point, you know?
I love it. No, it's a great story.
Yeah, you know, so I think those people aspiring like that, it's like I heard a girl talking at the crag the other day, and I just really appreciated, she was looking at like somebody's Instagram and making a comment on it, and she was just like, oh great. So it was another sponsored athlete telling me how they just live out of their car and get all this free stuff, and that's why they climb that hard, and that's the only way you can do it. And she's just like, what? So what am I supposed to do? She's like, you know, I got a kid. Like, what am I supposed to do? You know, like, she's just really honest about like these goals. But like I said, you don't have to.
You do. There's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make at some point. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But I gave up climbing. I had 3 children, and but then as soon as I think my youngest was, I don't even think that he was 4. My daughter was on team, and then we would all go camping, and then you know, and then all 3 of them had an opportunity to do it, and then I think it was just probably a couple of years ago was the first time one of my children belayed me for the first time.
Oh, nice.
So it was like after years of putting in the work, right? I'm the belayer. You think that, you know, your first time working at a gym, you're the belayer. Years, decades. That's all I'm doing. It's belaying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's exciting. It's exciting. It's
that
a
I had
whole
all
chapter.
those skills. Yeah. So you mentioned there's another maybe thing to overcome, or another challenge that you've been facing is just transitioning into your 40s, you know. And so for the last 6 years, it sounds like you've made a conscious decision to be present in other people's lives that you know who've always been there for you, perhaps, or just a part of your community. Like, oh, you're a part of my community? Okay, well, maybe I should show up. What are some other things that have you been experiencing or have come across your new to-do list?
Oh,
maybe
I don't just
training.
I just, most of my friends I hang out with here, they live out in Ridgeway and their moms. And so hiking is something that we do all the time together. And so I actually do a ton of that around here, and people don't know that about me. But yeah, I love to just go out on these huge hikes in the summertime around here. We have such awesome terrain. You could just go for hours and days if you want to. It's awesome. And then you can still come home and sleep in your bed. And it's just So it's really fun. And mountain biking is something too that like I got a new bike last year. I had 2 injuries in 2019, and so recovery from that, I got a new mountain bike. I used to bike all the time in my 20s in the Black Hills, and so when I got this bike, it was just like unleashed this child in me. And so it's really fun. I was riding a ton, and then we just had a monsoon season here, and I just stopped riding for a bit. So, so I'm like getting ready to it's riding season for me because it's not going to be hot. It's like, days are perfect.
Yes.
And so, so those are things that I think, just trying to reconnect with things that are important to me, going to music again. I always go to the music that's here in our county in the summertime. Right. And, just starting to go to more shows and just trying to do things that, I felt like I gave up so much when I started climbing. Like I just was so focused on it. And then when I became an athlete, I was so self-centered. I didn't realize how self-centered it was and how self-driven and self-consumed I was with other things, whether it was with being an athlete, and then I owned a business, Chicks Climbing and Skiing. That was all consuming. I was on city council at the same time. We built a house. It was like, oh my God, there's all these things. And I was still trying to be, all those things. And it was just too much. So I think now it's just a matter of like, slow it down. Let's just take what we need, leave all that other garbage behind. So
nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I think that's mostly what's going on right now.
I think hiking is a lot more low impact, than mountain biking. I can't really say is a lot more low impact, but it sure is a lot of fun. You got a full suspension mountain bike then?
Yeah. I bought a 2020 Norco. It was awesome. So I was
nice.
super psyched. Yeah. Oh, there goes my husband.
That's fantastic. So have you, but you still climb?
Oh yeah. We still go. I mean, I go as much as I possibly can, but it's the thing with climbing is that you're always searching for a partner. And so the older you get, the harder it is to find somebody Tuesday at 1:00 to go climbing. Good luck with that. Trying to find, you might find some random person, but it's hard to have a solid partner that can go at random times. So, that's why I've been hiking so much and biking, because I can get out and go for forever,
Yes.
And if I don't have a partner, then fine. If not, I can just meet up with somebody for a short bit in the afternoon. So I do climb as much as I can, but man, it's been nice to just also relieve some stress of like, oh, God, I can't find anybody. Like, what am I going to do? I'm jonesing. I got to get some exercise. Like, it's just better just to be like, oh, okay, cool. I couldn't find anybody. I'm just going to go.
Sure. But you said something earlier about, the physiology of getting older. Yeah. So where are you with that? How is that going for you? Because for myself, for example, I'm going to be 50 in February, and
congratulations, by the way.
Yay! Right? I mean,
that's what I think too.
Right? So yeah, and then things, 2019, I was diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. 2020, all clear, no radiation, no chemotherapy, all lifestyle change.
Awesome.
So, but I still, there are other things that are small, what would be perceived maybe as smaller problems, like maybe some joint problems, So whether it's changing the nutrition or changing the PT up, so I'm just wondering, have you done any of those things? Have you changed any diet, exercise, so that you can keep going at the same level, maybe doing different things like mountain biking, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. I have a thyroid that doesn't quite work right. And I figured that out when I was 39. And so it was quite a struggle to get that balanced. And so I definitely had a long period of time where it was no matter what I did, I just couldn't do what I wanted to do. And that all balanced itself out a few years ago. and I was feeling amazing. I was having so much energy. Everything was awesome. And I think that was a huge part of it, just like that. Once I got that all figured out, that has really helped me to be the person I used to be with all this energy that like, I have so much freaking energy. I don't know what to do with it. So it's easy for me to just get out and go do something as far as that goes. So with the amount of energy I have, it helps me to exercise like crazy. And exercising like crazy doesn't mean that I'm always out like climbing as hard as I can or biking as hard as I can. I just really never sit down, so I walk with the dog a bunch. I just make movement part of my life. I don't really sit around. I really, we have a couch, but I mean, I really only sit on it to drink some coffee in the morning, and then that's it, so, so just being mindful of that, like try not to eat crappy food, try not to eat processed food. But if you make a hot dog, I'll probably eat it. I mean, you gotta have some flexibility there. Yeah. But I know from experience and from watching all these people around me that if I exercise and take care of myself, I can do all these things until the day I die, so it's just really important to me to stay active and to live a healthy life that surrounds myself with those things, so it's not abnormal if my lady friends and I want to go hiking, but if I go back to say somewhere in Ohio, it might be really hard to find a group of women to go hiking with. Like, it's just not in the culture to be doing those things at that age. Like, you hear that all the time, like, oh, I'm too old for that.
Gotcha.
Good Lord. I don't know how, like, I'm not too old for that, So I just think that mentality of like, keep moving and you're not too old. Like, you're as old as you want to be. So if you want to use it as an excuse, great. But, you don't, it's up to you to keep that crutch if you want, you don't have to, there's plenty of examples of people who keep it moving and they're doing great, so yeah. It's totally up to you.
You're one of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, but at the same time, I've also keep making those choices. Like I wake up an hour early each day to go walk the dog for half an hour, so it's like, I put it in. It is very inconvenient. Yes, I want to sleep that extra half hour or hour, like that'd be awesome. But if I don't do it in the morning, then I have no time otherwise.
Right.
So if you want to balance things out, it's like, you have to really look at the big picture and be like, what is important, and just do those things, so scrolling on your phone is probably not as important as you're making it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Truth. You're telling the truth. Can you spend a little
Say,
bit
girl,
of
I'll give you some hallelujah fingers. Right there.
And and because of the internet, where you've got like the max headroom sort of thing happening also, so you'll be over here and then it'll stop recording you and then you'll be over here.
Oh boy, I hope it works.
No, it's awesome. Nobody knows who Max Headroom is anymore anyway, so it doesn't.
No, it's
but
enough reference.
Talk about what it was like to make Mixtress. How long did you guys to do? It was that. Was it an ordeal? Did you have how was it to do the fundraising to support the making of that film? I mean,
well, Mixtress was just this crazy idea that I had, that I wanted to make a movie because I was so sick and tired of watching all my lady friends excel at mixed climbing, and the same random men not random, but the same men kept getting credit for things. And it was just driving me crazy. Okay. Nobody knew about mixed climbing, but they could reference this one person or like a few men. And it was just like, all these women are doing these things. And it just was really, it became like frustrating to me. And I climbed something that was really hard, and there was no information, like, not that I was the first woman to climb that grade in America. And like, people were like talking shit, and like, it was just, Sam Elias did that climb and they made a whole video about him, it was like, or this whole story about him. And it was like, he had this whole interview, but yeah, like I did it, and like people are like, well, it's been downgraded, and I just thought, screw you people, And so I kind of got a little fight. I was definitely quite fired up about it, actually. And so I was like, I'm just going to tell the story of these women, and I'm going to tell the story about mixed climbing using these women and go from there. That is all I had to go off of. I had never made a movie a day in my life. It really was a very hard process, actually, because as you might imagine, if you've never done something like that, it is not going to be very easy. And I didn't have a budget. So I did, but I didn't. Right. So I knew I needed to raise money. So I fundraised through Kickstarter, because that's how you do things these days. Mm-hmm. That part is fun and easy. But what's hard is then taking that money, which was $35,000. I got that much money and I had to make a film. So that meant I had to write it, I had to film it, I had to get the athletes, transport everybody. And by the time I did that, over a year, I had no money left. And so the deal I made was I didn't want to spend any of my own personal money. So I had to make all this happen. And then I did. And I don't think it was the best film ever made. It didn't turn out as the vision I really hoped, but we made a film. I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm very proud of the way the editors and the person who actually helped me write it in the end, the way they helped me just pull it all together. That part was amazing. I definitely learned a ton about who you hire, contracts, what they're allowed to do with the material, what copyrights are, things like that, because the film's copyrighted. So that's good now, but it wasn't for a while. And so that was a problem. So, yeah.
And do you feel like, did it make the impact? Is it making the impact that you wanted to?
No, I think it could have been better, honestly. I mean, this is my self reflection and going back and, always wanting to do things better. But yeah, I definitely think that I could have had a better story. I could have used better footage. I didn't have the footage to use, and then I was out of money, and so it was really tricky to do a lot of stuff with what we had. And it was just, I needed more direction. I needed somebody to help me get my thoughts out more clearly. And I was always used to being on the athlete side of it. So typically I'd go out with a photographer and they're just like, all right, you climb and you climb. And then they have all these amazing shots. Yeah. Well, I was now the director and the person who had to find those shots. So I was expecting everybody to just fall into place. That's not what happened. And so because of it, we lacked a ton of really good footage. And so, so I think I learned a lot. I don't think I honored the women as well as I wanted to, but I'm happy with the ladies that were in the film. And I'm happy that I was able to at least get somebody to recognize them and see them, for what they were doing.
So, I thought it was great.
Yeah. So, yeah. It was such a huge accomplishment for me to have Kim Chismazia commit to being in the film. She was always the lady that I could never say her name when I was first started climbing, but I knew she was such a badass. And so when I met her in person a while back, it was such a big deal to me, so it was huge. It was such a big deal for me to have her in the film. So, and she was definitely such a pioneer, and she's just, so many people have no idea who she is because they can't say her last name. There's 3 Z's in it or something, it's crazy. Chismazia is how
there you go.
It.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's the film. I'm happy with it. I think we could have done better. Is there ever going to be a Mixtress 2? No.
That was your one and only.
That is. If I ever make another film, it'd be a short ski film about our local ski area here, Lee Ski Hill. I'd like to make a 2-minute film about that because I think it is so awesome that we have a ski hill in town. It's about a block long. It's a total of 75 vertical feet.
Oh.
It has a tow rope open after school and on the weekends.
Yes.
In the winter. Mm-hmm.
You got to get, man, I used to have a pair of glove guards. Oh my gosh. Can't tell you how many gloves I got torn up by tow ropes.
Yep.
Terrible.
Yep. I'm not a good enough skier to ski there, and I'm hoping this year to do so. So that's my goal this year, is to be able to ski at Lee Ski Hill. So, yeah.
Nice.
We'll
You're going to do it.
75 vertical feet. I might even skin up,
There you go. Do it.
Just to add a little, to it.
You're going to be in the backcountry before you can say, bless you. Bless your heart.
I can ski. I blew out my knee in 2019, so I've been really hesitant to want to get on some skis again. So I'm not the best skier in the world. I can ski as a verb, but I am not a skier as like a person who goes all the time. So that's how I would describe myself.
Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to be out there. Have you ever been, do you do any cross-country skiing?
I used to be a cross-country ski patroller when I lived in South Dakota, and I skied for work on a course in the morning, and then in the evening, I was the patroller doing, my little sweep.
I love it.
It's
so peaceful.
Yeah, totally. because I was getting paid too, so it was super peaceful. And I would skate ski, or I would classic ski, but I mostly skate skied that year because it was just like, it was perfect. I was the first person out there, perfectly groomed. My next lap on sweep, I was the only person's tracks out there, so I just got round 2 on like perfect snow, so it was always really good. So
you're blessed for sure. That's wonderful. Yeah. There's a Nordic ski place up there in Frisco. Is there one that's down south by you guys?
They probably have one in Telluride, but I don't know. We have some other areas around.
You're working on the 75 feet. I forgot.
Oh yeah, I got other girls. I got Lee Ski Hill to tackle this year on my list.
Nice. Well, we look forward to having you at the Valdez Ice Climbing Festival, and I think that you're a great inspiration for women, no matter what sport people are getting into. I think that, it's great to hear how well-rounded you are actually in all of the different sports, and that movement really sounds like a real key to staying young and just being happy, right?
Try your best, I guess. Yeah, that's what Craig Lubin used to say. Try your best and just be happy with it. So
it's wonderful. Well, it's an honor to talk to you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing y'all. I will have like a bazillion puffy coats on when I see you all, but yeah.
It's pretty cold up there, so.
I know it, and I am ready for it. I am like the master at layering, so yeah.
Thanks again for listening to LoTech Tuesdays by LoTech and Wild. This podcast supports Valdez Adventure Alliance up in Valdez, Alaska, where they strongly believe in nature therapy. Their goal is to bring this to those who will appreciate it, one might say those who need it. Their focus is teaching through play. They are strong encouragers. The events and resources that they provide will help people find the satisfaction of self-accomplishment through effort, of climbing, of riding bikes, of hiking, of trail building, of immersing in nature. They encourage people to allow themselves to surrender to the flow of the vast beauty of those mountains and the Prince William Sound. Their objective is to be a resource for people to find deep happiness and healthy outlets for themselves in these ever-trying times. We would like to shout out to some of the Valdez Adventure sponsors, including IMBA, International Mountain Biking Association, Access Fund, Protecting America's Climbing, and the American Alpine Club. Some local sponsors include the City of Valdez, the CVEA Community Foundation, Alyeska Pipeline, the Fat Mermaid, the Prospector, Valdez Avalanche Center, Raven, Alaska. We'd also like to give a big shout out to Loa Boots, Tiger Tail, Hyperlight, the National Scenic Byway Foundation, Mountain Equipment, RAB, and Nick Wax. Thanks again for listening, and enjoy your day.